Welcome to Julie the Thrifty Designer. Well, I'm going to show you out front here a little bit of what it looks like for me. Yeah, look over my shoulder and see. Isn't it beautiful? Another snowy day in the neighborhood. Well, it is Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And I really have a lot to do. And I'm not very motivated. Well, you can see some of my fall decorations. They have snow all over them. I'll show you when I turn the camera around a little bit better. Anyway, I'm wanting to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. It's coming up soon. I'm getting ready to bake some pies. Well, on a snowy day, it helps make you in the mood to bake, right? So I'm going to show you a little bit out front here what it looks like, and then we're going to go in and get started. It is cold out here too. You can't even see Thankful and Blessed very well. But yeah, it's been quite a snowstorm. We have probably at least a foot of snow. Oh, it's cold. A tiny walk in, it just gets buried as quickly as you can start to shovel anything. It's been shoveled once. Oh, a little bit right here is still holding up. But let's see if we can see how deep it really is. Can you tell? I don't think it's showing very well. It is deep and it's cold. So, there's my fall look, even though it feels like winter. And I'm shivering and the camera's shaking from it. So, let's go in. Bye. Okay, just a kind of a quick, you can see I have boxes of things. That's some of my meal prep stuff just sitting there, getting ready to be used. And for the most part, it's looking okay. Over here, I've got a couple of things out that we're going to start making. We're going to make a strawberry rhubarb pie as well as some other ones. And I have some baking dishes. So here is just a start. It's seeing what I've got to go through it all and start organizing it. Well, I wonder how many of you are like me. Turn on the Thanksgiving Day parade that we can see on YouTube now anytime we want to get yourself in the mood and get yourself started. That's what I do. I don't know about you. It helps. You know, it's just the beginning stages at Herald Square. I think it's fun. Well, I have to tell you, I went to get some of my spices out and realized I must have used up my cloves, ground cloves last year. So I decided to give it a try because I don't have a spice grinder. I decided to give it a try, and I stuck my cloves in my trusty Vitamix and turned it on high and just let it go. And to my surprise, it ground it amazing. And now, problem is though, it's stuck all over the blender here, and I've got to figure out how to get this out. I'm gonna maybe try putting a can of pumpkin in here and just let it puree with it. See if it'll mix it, because that's what I'm going to use it with. Okay, well, I've made my first pumpkin pie, and I've got it in the shell so you can see what it's going to look like. What I'm going to do now is make a second pumpkin pie, and I'm going to show you how I do it. But what I really do is I start out with ready-made crusts. I used to stand here and roll out crusts all the time. They were wonderful. But frankly, I don't have the time or the energy to do that anymore. And these are just as good. So, just buy these, and that's my pie crust. All right, I'm going to show you how I make pumpkin pie. Now, normally I have my beater blender out, or mixer, that's what I'm trying to say. But because I started with my Vitamix just to try to get all of that cloves out of there, which worked, by the way, I'm just going to head and make it in small batches like this. So, I have already taken and opened a can of whatever pumpkin you want. This just happened to be one I have. Dumped a can in there. And then from there, I'm going to take, I have heavy cream. Now you can use your milk of choice. If you're not liking heavy cream and you would rather skim milk, that's up to you. But for me, I'm not afraid of the fat. Maybe that's why I look the way I do. And here is a cup of heavy cream. And I might want more than this if I have to thin it down. And so that is what I put in there. Oh, my eggs. They're over here. Sorry. And then I'm going to put 3 eggs. That's my recipe because I like how it makes it nice and full and thick. And so, and there we go. I put all 3 of those in. And let's see. Then my freshly ground cloves, I put a little bit of sprinkling in. I'm just a sprinkler. It's probably equivalent to 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. I don't know for sure. That's kind of my guess. Cinnamon. Now, I like lots of cinnamon in my pie. My pies are very spicy. That's equivalent to about, okay, there's about 1, 2, okay, approximately 3 of the, I guess, tablespoons of cinnamon. That's more than most people do. But I like mine more spicy. And then this is ginger, ground ginger. And ginger I'm a little less on because it is quite strong. So that's equivalent to about a half, maybe a 1/2 teaspoon, maybe a little more. I don't know. And then my next thing I put in, this was my mother's recipe, basically. I learned to cook it the way she did. She just eyeballed it and put it in. And blackstrap molasses. And again, we just pour some in. Now, I would say it's probably equivalent to a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of molasses. And it just kind of rounds out the flavor. And then from there, I'm going to blend it. Well, upon blending it, I realized I forgot to put my sugar in. Oh my goodness, how silly am I? Silly, silly, silly am I? That's wet now, so that's really not gonna work. So let's just grab a 1/2 one, which I know I will want a whole, but we're gonna do, I don't know how much. I just usually eyeball it myself. So I thought, well, I'll see what it actually kind of comes to. Let's see, I gotta open my bag a little bit more because I didn't have it up open enough. There we go. So, and I don't pack my ground sugar, I just put it in and dump it in. And that's a 1/2 one. And for this pie, I would go 1/2 of a half. There we go. 1/2 of a half. There we go. Good measure, aren't I? Probably drive you guys crazy because the way I cook, I'm just terrible at it. And then the same with this. This is 1/2 and a whole cup. I'm going to say probably with that and the brown sugar, a whole cup is what it needs to be. So now we'll try it again. I will blend it and see how it is. Okay, well, since I've been handling all the cans and the stuff, I washed my hands because also I realized I was licking my fingers. Nothing you guys want to know. I did try it. So I unwrapped, I cut it out of the bag, the lovely, just simple pie crust. And I'm unwrapping it. And then I'm just going to place it in my pie dish. Now, I didn't use nutmeg in this one because my sister-in-law is allergic to nutmeg. It's not a pretty thing for her. So I made one with the nutmeg and one without it. And I'll know which one it is because this one doesn't have like the handles, where the one I made before is like this. It has the handles. So I'll be able to tell which pumpkin pie it is just by that. So now, it's so nice and easy. They're already made to fit the tin or the pie pan. So here, I don't know, I hope you can see me. Let me see if I can direct the camera down just enough to make sure you see it. Okay, I'm hoping that you can do this. See me fine. So I take one finger and two. So I'm going to do this type of motion on the edge of my crust, on the pie tin here, on the pie crust. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I've probably cut my head off, knowing me. I have the camera turned so I can't see it. When I have it where I can see it, the picture gets all fuzzy and kind of blurry. It isn't a good quality. So I don't know what I'm seeing, unfortunately. So it's just a simple little edge like this. And I like this edge. I think it's kind of pretty, as long as it'll stay into place. And I'm just showing you in real time how fast you can do this. Or you can take it and you can notch it or lay it down and then smash it with a fork on the sides. And I think that's pretty as well. Okay, now we'll just take my lovely Vitamix puree here of pumpkin, and we'll just simply pour it in. It is a delicious pie. I mean, store-bought pies are kind of boring because they don't put enough spice in it for me. I don't know. I prefer a little more spicy. I have a story to tell, though. When I first made pumpkin pies for my in-laws for Thanksgiving, back when I first got married 34 years ago, the first Thanksgiving I said I would make the pies. And so I did my mother's recipe, which, like I said, this is a lot more spicy. And because of the molasses, it tastes very different than what the recipe is on the can of like Libby's. And my in-laws, they asked me after Thanksgiving, did I follow the recipe? And I said, yes, I followed the recipe. And they said, on the can. And I went, no, I did my mother's recipe for the pumpkin pie. And they were like, oh, that was really strange to them at first. And they never have grown to like it being this spicy. They would prefer it to not be so spicy. So a lot of times I'll make a small pie for my mother-in-law that has not the molasses and the extra spices. I'll follow the can so that she can handle it. But I found that she really doesn't even care if she eats pumpkin pie much at all anymore. It's just not her thing. She'd rather a pecan pie or something like that. So now, here is this pretty pie. Isn't that pretty? I think it came out really delicious. I can hardly wait to eat some. Anyway, look at that pretty pie. Next, we'll make some other pies. Okay, now I thought I'd show you how I make a strawberry rhubarb pie. Well, I start out by putting the pie crust in the bottom of the pan. And I like to, just for the flavor, just a dusting of cinnamon on the bottom of the crust. I just think it just kind of, it also helps to absorb flavors, and it makes the crust, I think, just taste just a little bit better. And then from there, okay, I have rhubarb here. It's washed and drained. It's homegrown from my garden. And unfortunately, I didn't harvest it till after our first frost. And it was a little wimpy, but I thought, it's going to bake wimpy anyway. It didn't hurt it. It just was wimpy instead of crispy like it normally is. So I am just going to put a nice good layer right on the bottom. And then I have some frozen strawberries that I got from the grocery store. And then I'm just going to layer a couple of handfuls on top of that. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of cinnamon. I happen to like cinnamon in my strawberry rhubarb pie. Just a wee bit. And then I will take, I have 3/4 of a stick of butter that I have sliced into slices like this. And I'm just kind of placing them in the pie here, like that, okay? And then I'm going to take my sugar. Again, I don't measure. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. I will just sprinkle a nice amount of sugar on this layer right here. Whoops, that's a clumpy piece. Oh, that wasn't good. And when you get a clumps, and there's like a couple of clumps here, what I find I like to do is take the big clumps and the little ones and just rub them together and rub them in your hands, and then boom, they're gone. Isn't that nice? Then again, another thing, probably drive you all crazy because I don't measure. I have a little vanilla here. And I take my fingers over it and just let it kind of sprinkle out just a little bit. I just kind of sprinkle just a dab like this. So I have a little bit of it just kind of evenly dispersed all over. Then you repeat that process until you have a nice heaping pie. And I'll show you that in a moment. I also forgot to tell you guys, and I should have done this before I did my next layer. I meant to do this like in the middle, and I kind of forgot this part of it. This is cornstarch, and I like to just sprinkle a little cornstarch in on top like this. And this should have been in the middle, not on this layer, because you need it to help thicken this pie crust. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Just kind of giving it a nice coating. I wish I'd have remembered it sooner. It'll still work, but it is better if it's more in the middle section than almost to the top. So I didn't put the sugar on yet, but I had the butter and the cinnamon. And now I'm going to do a little bit of the sugar. And this is a clumpy sugar. I cannot believe how clumpy it is. And I just got it. That's what's weird. Okay, I'll be back in a little bit. When you don't make a pie for a year, you kind of forget, especially since I don't go by recipes necessarily. I also forgot, I like to sprinkle just a little fingertip handful of brown sugar. Just a little bit, just enough to give it that little bit more extra taste. And I think it is good. So it has got all the layers. It's a nice heaping big pie. And then what we'll do is we'll just put the pie crust over the top. Unwind it. Just place it on top, right over it. I think it's really nice. So then I like to grab a hold of the bottom crust below it. Let's see if I can get stuff out of the way again so you can see what I'm doing. And the bottom crust here is fuller, so it's not as easy to get a hold of. And I again try to pinch, grabbing a hold of the one below it. Sometimes you just pinch like that, and that'll work. But I'm trying to make sure that I mix the top crust with the bottom one. Oops, I put a hole there. Shame on me. And there might be an easier way. But this is a deep dish pan. So, anyway, so tell you what, I'll do that and show it to you when I get done. Okay, the pie crust wasn't being friendly the way I was trying to do it, so I actually took a fork and I just started going around the outside edge like this, just pressing it down to press them together. Which kind of opened up the side, but that's okay, you need some steam vents. Now, this one's a strawberry rhubarb pie. Nice and full, but as the strawberries and the rhubarb cook down, it is going to cook down, so you may find that your pie will kind of drop when it gets done. But what I like to do from there is I take a fork and I will just kind of poke out all the way around. These act as steam vents, but also a way of marking what it is. And I put an S, and now I'm putting an R for strawberry rhubarb pie. There we go. I don't know, can you see it? See? Strawberry rhubarb. It's a pretty pie. Then what I'll do is brush it with some egg white or cream. Cream will work also. And then we'll bake it in the oven at 350 for about an hour. And I forgot to tell you that's the same way for the pumpkin pies. 350 degrees for about an hour. And that is Fahrenheit. 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a good thing. Okay, here's a look inside of my oven. I got 3 pies getting ready to bake at 350 degrees. I also forgot to tell you that on the strawberry rhubarb pie, after I put a little bit of cream on it, I also sprinkled it with sugar. And that way it'll be really pretty when it is baked. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I make a peach cobbler. It really is basically the same basic recipe as what I do for my fruit cobbler. It's the same thing basically, but I tweak it just a little bit different. Start out with some oats, and I just like to place it a nice little bottom coating, because then it just kind of acts as a crust in a way. Then I went into Costco, and I just found this recently actually, and this is why I tweak it. It is the pumpkin seed plus flaxseed granola. It isn't marked gluten-free, but it is. It's just made in a facility that it might have some cross-contamination possibilities, but it doesn't have it in the ingredients. And for me, my gluten-free issue is I'm okay in facilities made with it, but don't mix it for me. So that's what this is, and I can eat this. I have no problem with it. So I like to take it, and it is so delicious. So now I just sprinkle just a little bit on the bottom also, and it's got all these yummy little things in it, and it just has such a delightful flavor. I love it. And then also I like a little cinnamon. I don't want to get carried away in a peach cobbler, but a little bit. It is the holidays. Okay, a little bit there. And I also like to just dab a little bit of butter. Just a little bit. Doesn't need a lot yet, but we want to make sure we have it. Then I opened up a couple of cans. I don't know, I haven't made it in this pan before, so I don't really know how many I need, but juice and all of sliced peaches. And this ones are in heavy syrup. I didn't realize I bought them in heavy syrup. I normally get them in light syrup. Well, that'll adjust my sugar a little bit. But the juice and all really does make it nicer. And I'll just kind of mix that around. That juice is really rather thick. More juice than I needed. But it will cook into it. So now as you can see, it looks really delicious. And frankly, maybe because it is so much juicier than usual on things, a little cornstarch is in order. Okay, just a little bit. I'm not going to get carried away because it will thicken with my other stuff, but just a little sprinkling of it. And about like that. I'm actually thinking I might want to open the third can of peaches, but not use the juices, just the peaches. And that's a possibility. So, let's continue. Now it's in heavy syrup, so I'm really not going to put a lot of sugar, I don't think, because heavy syrup has, I'm going to put a sprinkling of brown sugar. It has a nice, delightful flavor. It is sugar, but it has a little different flavor than just sugar. I wish I'd have realized that I had bought heavy syrup. It makes it just, it's the wrong sugar, and I would rather have the taste of some good quality sugar than just high fructose corn syrup. That's what I get for not really paying attention. Anyway, just a little bit like that, and that looked nice. Then I also, again, my same little trick on vanilla. I think it needs a little bit of vanilla, so I sprinkle it in, just like that. And then we'll throw some more pads of butter on here, because we need it. And it really will be yummy with it. All right. Then, oh, here's my, oats again. Let's sprinkle a little bit more oats on top, and this will help absorb also some of that added extra syrupy sauce. And you want the syrupy sauce, because it makes it really gooey and yummy. So now I'm going to sprinkle some more of this. And you know, I don't need the extra peaches after all, because this is full. We'll just sprinkle that on. Just like that. We'll just do a nice generous amount of that. And I think that looks already delicious. I'm layering it in a little bit more of the just plain oatmeal, like this. I think it looks yummy. And one more or so of this crumbles. And it's already made for you, it's crumbly. And there we go. And when that bakes, that should be really bubbly and delicious. And let's just put a little more cinnamon. And I just a barely. And there we go. That will be delicious. Okay, I'm now going to make an apple pie. I'm not going to go into quite as much detail. Already got the pie crust in. And these are my apples off of our tree. And we froze them, so they've kind of turned color here, but rinsed and ready to go. So in that will be, I will put some almond extract, some vanilla, some cinnamon, a little cornstarch for thickening, a little brown sugar, and a little regular sugar, and then a little bit of salt. Salt should have actually been in all my other ingredients, and all of a sudden I realized I forgot to be using salt. So pinches of salt in just about everything else I've made needed it. So I'm just letting you know, just a pinch of salt. So let's just get started real quick. Oh yeah, and butter. So I got it layered, and I forgot to get out my butter. So I'll show you in a little bit. Okay, I had sprinkled a little butter on it, and I'll be back. Okay, what I was getting ready to do, and I realized I hadn't opened it yet, was the almond extract, and I hate showing you tedious things like that. Again, now I'm going to just sprinkle. I've only got it a little over, I mean, it's just full, but it's not heaping full. So I put some butter in it, and now I'm going to sprinkle. This is my idea of a apple pie. Just a little bit sprinkling of almond extract. And then also, same thing, a little bit of sprinkling of your vanilla. Yeah, you can use real. You know, I'm weird. I love everything that's as real as you can get it and natural. But for some reason, I don't care for real vanilla. Call me odd, but to me it smells sour. I don't know. I just don't like the flavor and the taste of real vanilla. So I just prefer the almond, the imitation. It's cheaper too, but probably not as good for me. Okay, then a sprinkling of cinnamon. And I do quite generous because apple pies are usually pretty cinnamony. And then I'm also going to put a dusting of cornstarch, just like I have been doing. Whoa, it went heavy that time, but then that was my own fault. But that was plenty. And also, salt will help to bring out all the flavors and sugars. You know my salt blend, it's my black Hawaiian volcanic sea salt with Celtic sea salt and pink Himalayan sea salt. Now I'm taking just literally a fingertip full like this. And I am just going to sprinkle it around like this. And that's it. So it's kind of evenly dispersed over the pie. That's all the salt you're going to need. Then I like to take just a little bit of brown sugar and do the same thing. Just kind of crumble it around in the pie, like that. And then, and you know, I have real pure cane sugar here that's unprocessed and stuff. A little more. And I just sprinkle some of this sugar around on here, just like we did all the others. And you're going to do this in layers. So just letting you know. And I'll show it to you when I'm all done. Okay, I have made the pie. And I put an A on the top. And I have brushed on, actually, you know what I used was just a little vanilla to moisten the top. And now what I'm going to do is put a little of my sugar in my hand here, and I'm just gonna sprinkle it around on the top. So when it cooks, it'll have that really glistening, really yummy, flaky top with that sugar on top. Isn't it pretty? I love how the pie looks. I crimped the edges, and then I kind of poked them with my finger in here to give them even a little more fancier edge. It's a very pretty thing. Love it. Hopefully you'll get ideas. I know I probably drive you all crazy on how I cook because I don't measure anything. I really don't know how to cook measuring. It kind of frustrates me. I'm a creative person, so I just get creative and do it. And you're probably all wondering why I do so much butter. Well, first of all, it's just Thanksgiving, so why not just go all out and enjoy it? But I was on the keto diet for a while, which is very high fat. I mean, extremely high fat. Frankly, I didn't lose a thing on it, but boy did I get a fat tooth out of it. But maybe I was doing something wrong, I'm not sure, but my sister-in-law didn't lose on it either. So I don't know, maybe keto is not for everyone, it just didn't work for us. So, but it sure made me like my butter. Anyway, this is how I make the apple pie. So tomorrow, I will put up another film tomorrow, and I will be showing you how I do the other things that I do, like my stuffing and my green bean casserole. I was gonna do that today, but I'm kind of snowed in, and I forgot to buy my mushrooms, and I gotta do it. And I'm gonna make it homemade, not just opening a can of stuff. I prefer homemade if I can, and I found some gluten-free, those little onion toppers that I can have, because so many times I farm it out, everyone makes it with the can, and it tastes fine, tastes good, but I can't eat it because it's not gluten-free. And I missed my green bean casserole, so this year I decided I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna make my own recipe. So anyway, this is gonna conclude this issue for today, because this video I know is getting really long. So I'm gonna wish all of you, excuse me, happy Thanksgiving preparations days, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, usually that. So this is what I've been doing. And so I want you all to know, I know it's not decorating, but it's still about making your house a home. So, I want you all to have fun, think about recipes. Maybe you can figure out recipes with measurements, your own, but have fun doing it. Let Thanksgiving be a joy in your heart like it does for me. So, everyone, you all take care, and God bless, and happy decorating.